When Hollywood's most spoiled actor,
Mickey, baby,
meets New York's Hard Way. Rated R. Starts Friday.
Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is a review of the 1991 action comedy thriller, The Hard Way, starring Michael J. Fox and James Woods. Now, this is one of those films that, for whatever reason, has fallen under the radar over the years. I don't quite get it. I'm hoping this release by Kino Lorber opens up a lot of people's eyes to this gem of a movie. It's one of those movies that, yes, at the end of the day, I wouldn't call it a great film, but it's still a really entertaining, fun ride, and it's well worth a watch just for the two leads and how they play off of one another and how the film plays around with certain action movie tropes and just the overall structure of a film. It's a really clever, ahead of its time script when it comes to the meta aspects of the screenplay. And it's a really refreshing role for Michael J. Fox because the character Nick Lang is a spoiled, rich movie star who even throws a temper tantrum early in the film, and he's annoying, and he's not really necessarily always the most likable guy. As the film goes on, you definitely start to like him more, and Michael J. Fox's own inherent personality and likability starts to shine through. But early on, you're like, he's just a spoiled punk, and you want him to experience what it's like to actually be on the streets and get a taste of real life. And I think that the casting of Michael J. Fox was a brilliant bit of out-of-the-box casting, because who would think that he would be the right guy for this kind of role to star alongside someone like James Woods? James Woods is also an inspired bit of casting too, because it's just perfect for him to play this loud-mouthed cop who's sick of Nick Lang, and he's sick of all this bullshit, and he tells it like it is. And I can see why some people see this film as kind of a pseudo sequel or companion piece to James Woods' film Cop that he was in, because it is a similar approach that he takes with his character in this film, but it works. It worked in Cop, and it works here. The film is directed by John Badham, and I think that John Badham is one of the best directors out there. He's so widespread in terms of his talents and when it comes to the kind of films that he's able to effectively direct. He can do dramas really well. He can also direct action or thrillers, and The Hard Way is no exception to that rule. I think the film looks great. It has some really impressive shots throughout the film. How he set up the finale with the advertising marquee with the billboard was just really inspired and just quite amazing to look at. And I just love how the film looks from a cinematography perspective. I think that John and his cinematographers, Donald McAlpine and Robert Primes, I feel they did absolutely fantastic jobs working alongside John Badham to create shots in this film that look like something straight out of a film noir, and also remind me a little bit of some of the ways that Walter Hill would shoot a lot of his films, with the way that scenes are lit, with the neon lighting and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of energy to the direction, and it's also something that really does maintain the same energy of the two leads, and it doesn't feel like it really runs out of steam, at least when they are on the screen together. I feel that there are some aspects of the script that aren't really the best, but despite that, John Badham did not do a bad job at all directing the movie. You can tell this is a very professional, very seasoned director, and this is a job well done on his part. He also managed to find a way to get James Woods to deliver a convincing performance when it pertains to the scenes where he's just fed up with Michael J. Fox's character. Because initially, James Woods was struggling because he loved Michael J. Fox. Was having a very hard time being annoyed by Michael J. Fox. And Badham was able to get that out of him. And I don't think the film would be nearly as successful as it is if he wasn't able to get that authentic, annoyed reaction from James Woods when it comes to his sequences with Nick Lang, played by Fox. Now, the screenplay by Daniel Pine and Lem Dobbs, like I said, it's got some really brilliant bits of meta references and humor. The trailer for The Smoking Gun 2 is over the top and in a lot of ways reminds you of something you would see in like Hot Shots or Hot Shots Part 2. And you got Michael J. Fox playing this Indiana Jones kind of character who's fighting ninjas. And to be honest, I would love to see that movie. I would have paid to see that film. Because Michael J. Fox is such a charismatic and really enjoyable actor to watch. And it's really a shame that he's been struck down with Parkinson's, because we have definitely lost someone quite special when it comes to an actor on the screen. He's still around. You really don't see Michael J. Fox like we used to. You know, the Michael J. Fox who was very charismatic, very likable, had so much energy. You don't really see that Michael J. Fox, and we'll probably sadly never see that Michael J. Fox again because of what he's dealing with. But yeah, I mean, I admit I get a little choked up thinking about it, because I miss seeing Michael J. Fox in roles like this and playing these kind of characters and just being in films. I really do miss him a lot. And the screenplay does a great job in terms of the dialogue and the overall plot of the party crasher, and he's the main force, the main guy that James Woods' character wants to stop. I think that's fine, but I'm not super big on how they handled the party crasher. I get it, he's nuts and he's crazy, but I just I just feel that there was something missing with this character. He felt like he was more like a henchman than the main attraction. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't really feel like he should be like the main villain in a movie. And I think that has more to do with the script than really the performance by Stephen Lang. I think he did a great job with what he was asked to do, but it just really is not a character that stands out and really is that memorable of a villain. And there are some other aspects of the script that I think are a little half-baked or don't really go as far, or really are handled as well as they could be. Like the love story, I just could take it or leave it between James Woods' character, John Moss, and Susan. It wasn't the worst love story I've seen, but it wasn't one of the best. It seemed like it was just there to set up a damsel in distress moment in the climax. And there's some other aspects to it that are a little lackluster. For instance, for an action comedy, it's not really that great when it comes to its action. You have a really rousing finale on a billboard, and you have a decent little bit of a car chase in the beginning, and another car chase at one point in the film that wasn't too bad, but there really aren't like that many pulse pounding, adrenaline inducing action sequences. And I think since it was billed as an action comedy, that's a little disappointing, but I think this is a much better film if you view it as an action thriller. Actually, if you view it as a comedy thriller, because I don't think this is an action film. It's got some action scenes, but it's really more of a thriller with comedic elements than it is an action movie. So I think if you view it under that lens, I think you can get some more enjoyment out of it. And yeah, I mean, there are just some aspects of it that just feel like they're dragged out a little bit too much. There's some stuff involving James Woods's fellow police officers at the police department. LL Cool J is one of them. Those scenes don't really add much, if you ask me. And it's just a little bit too long, too. I don't think this film needed to be 111 minutes. So there are some points where it kind of sags a little. But despite some of the problems I do have with it, I still really enjoy the film. I find it to be a really enjoyable, entertaining movie with some hilarious scenes of backtalk between John Moss and Nick Lang. And I didn't mind the score either by Arthur B. Rubinstein, although I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite scores, and I would say that it could use some improvement. I would have loved to have seen what Alan Silvestri could have done with the score for this, or Jerry Goldsmith. Arthur B. Rubinstein's score, it's there. It's not anything that I would listen to on my free time, but I do like the Private Eye film noir inspired main theme. I do enjoy that particular bit of composition by the composer, but it's just one of those, could have been a lot worse, but also could be a little better. I think it's really excellently edited by Tony Lombardo and Frank Morris. There's a lot of scenes here that have a lot of electricity throughout them, so they really need some tight editing to make sure that it maintains that power. And I feel that the film is quite successful when it comes to being able to do that. And some great performances. Michael J. Fox, James Woods, some of their best roles. Stephen Lang, he played a good crazy guy. I just didn't really feel like he had that much of a presence, despite it being a decent performance. Annabella Sciorra as Susan, she was sexy, she was likable, but I don't know, it's one of those romance angles that was just pretty mediocre for me. Uh, Delroy Lindo played Captain Bricks. There was some fun stuff with him and the back and forth between him and John Moss. You also have Luis Guzman in one of his earlier roles as a detective, and LL Cool J. Penny Marshall also has a bit role here. You have Christina Ricci, who plays the daughter of Susan. I honestly didn't recognize her at first. So she really plays a normal girl, which is something that she really didn't do that much of, understandably, after the Addams Family. She became a little typecast as the outcast kind of kid, and And I feel that her role here shows that she could pull off both. She could be the regular girl and the outcast. And you also have Lewis Black, the comedian. He has a cameo in this as one of the assholes at the diner who's being inappropriate and uh, being a complete fucking jerk off. And he gets his ass kicked by James Woods. And you also have Kathy Najimy, who plays the I think it's like the girl who is like a housekeeper of sorts that helps Nick out. And yeah, it's it's not one of those films that I would say it's going to blow you away. It's not going to blow you away. It's not going to be one of those films that you're going to be like, "Oh my god, this is one of the best films I've ever seen." But I think it's definitely going to entertain you. I think it's going to be a good way to pass your time. And I would recommend it. I mean, Michael J. Fox and James Woods, they are so good together in this, and they have so much fun together, and they play a great odd couple. And when the action, when it is there, it'll get your blood pumping, but there just isn't a lot of it. It would have been nice to maybe seen another shootout or two or something like that. I definitely don't feel that the original casting they had in mind would work nearly as well. They originally were going for Gene Hackman and Kevin Kline instead of this pair, and I think that would be a hard sell. As much as I like Gene Hackman, Kevin Kline, I don't think could pull off this role as Nick Lang. He would be out of place, and he would be very awkward and uncomfortable. And I feel that would definitely affect the enjoyment of the movie. Apparently, when it comes to the finale sequence that takes place at the billboard, initially with the screenplay, they were going to do that first. And I'm really glad they didn't have that in the beginning of the movie, because that would have been a case of blowing your wad way too early. So they decided to move it to the climax of the film instead of at the beginning of the movie. And this sequence that was shot on the top of the Smoking Gun 2 billboard with this giant plaster face of Michael J. Fox, that was actually a huge deal. It took 10 days to shoot. It put New York City traffic to a standstill. Had all these people from all over the city, including tourists, gathering at night to watch the filming of it. It became like a worldwide thing because there's other people from other news stations from across the world that were actually covering it. So I thought that was pretty cool, actually, that it was that big of a deal. Like, there was just so many people that were gathered to watch this scene get shot. And if you think about it, how often does that really occur nowadays, where it's like a big deal for people to stop what they're doing and go watch a scene get shot for a film? Especially not now. But even when we weren't dealing with what we have been dealing with as of late, it doesn't seem like it was that big of a deal. But yeah, I definitely would recommend checking this one out. The Blu-ray, it's fine. The transfer is decent enough. I don't think it's like a remastered print in 2K or 4K. I think it might be the same one from the overseas release. But it's definitely an upgrade over the DVD. I haven't listened to the commentary track. I've heard that it's kind of a mixed bag because they recorded it over Zoom or Skype or something like that. So it's not as professionally done as other commentary tracks are. And you don't have any like featurettes or anything. No new interviews with anyone, which is really too bad. I would have loved to have heard from Michael J. Fox or James Woods, but I can understand why neither one of them wanted to record an interview for the film. But I'm not the only one that liked it. I mean, there were some critics that did enjoy the movie when it came out. Uh, Vincent Canby, he said it's not a perfect comedy by any means, but it's a very entertaining one. I agree with that. Roger Ebert really liked it. He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars. He praised its comic energy. I definitely think it has a great amount of comic energy, so I agree with Roger there. And he praised the stunt work and the special effects and the second unit uh, performance from the second unit directors, and I think they are well deserving of praise as well. And it did decent in the box office. It made 65 million. It wasn't a massive hit for Universal, but on a $24 million budget, it at least made a profit. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about The Hard Way, except it's one of those films that has a simple concept, an idea of a spoiled movie star who wants to get some experience for a role he wants to get so he can be taken more seriously as an actor. So he thinks that in order for him to really understand what it's like to be a cop, he thinks that the best idea is to go along with a real cop. And he happens to be partnered with John Moss, who is sick and tired of these Hollywood types and really is not a fan of Nick Lang, period. So he's paired with this guy that he absolutely hates, and over the course of the film, they have to learn to work together and stop the party crasher, who is this killer who's going around shooting people randomly. So, yeah, it's not the most original plot when it comes to the storyline with the two characters and with an odd couple pairing, but that makes up for it with the meta references, with how it plays around with tropes of the action genre, and just with its comic energy, its wit, and the performances by the two leads and their chemistry. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of The Hard Way, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.